firm serving clients in the Atlanta metro area and in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So what I do is directly tied to what we're going to talk about today. I usually work with professionals, individuals like yourselves with college degrees, and they usually have a lot of student loan debt. We're not talking about $30,000, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who in here is expected to have about $100,000 student loan debt after you graduate? And who's expected to have $100,000 after you graduate your master's program to actually do what you want to do? These are real issues, and I think it's important to really understand where student loans came from, how it kind of evolved to where it is today, so that way when you guys have a strategy to actually tackle this. So the student loans back in the day, probably about the 80s, the average student loan debt was probably about $1,000 all the way up to $10,000. But because you guys have all seen the thing that said that people earn $1 million extra for their college degrees, colleges have actually inflated the cost of education. I think Spelman is about $50,000 after room and board per year, correct? And the question is, am I getting that value back from those monies? Unfortunately, the slides we have today are kind of reactive instead of proactive. But as you guys are going through your college careers, truly understand how much you're going to make versus how much you're actually going to take out in debt. And make sure those things are aligned. The numbers should be the same. So if you plan on going out of college making about $100,000, make sure you don't have any more than $100,000 of student loan debt. If you plan to be a social worker, only making $40,000, try to right-size your debt so it doesn't balance off. So what does that mean? Scholarships, working, and maybe that actually means stretching out. Because I have a lot of clients with a lot of student loan debt, and they actually get depressed because of that burden that's weighed on them. If you want to have to feel trapped in a job, an occupation, like she said, people have multiple careers. You won't change your career if you have that debt hovering over your head. That leads to depression, which causes eating out, and a lot of other hosts of things. So this is an important section. I hope you guys take student loans seriously. It's almost criminal that they'll give you $100,000 to go to school, but they won't give you $100,000 to start your own business and do what you really believe and supposed to be on this earth to do. And there's a reason for that. So let's go forward. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. Mostly, like I said, this is reactionary. This assumes you already have taken out your student loan debt. But I hope after that, this brief discussion, you guys take a step back and really think about what you have on your plate and the income and options that you have in the future. So we're going to talk about the standard, income-based, income contingent, pay-as-you-earn, and these are different payment options. So I have actual clients, and I have to counsel them through how to repay their student loan debt. A lot of people said that, you go out once a week. A lot of my clients can't afford to go out once a week because of the burden of student loan debt. They said the average payout is 10 years. The average payout or payoff in your student loan is about 25 years. And you don't pay it off, they actually forgive that amount. And there's a lot of different nuances of that. So I'm trying to focus on more like real life, what professionals deal with, and hopefully it'll guide you to make decisions on your own life. Because everything's an internal value-based thing, but I truly feel like if people have more options, because they're wealthier and have more financial flexibility, they are happier people. It's a personal statement. Next slide. So the standard of repayment. This is a 10-year fixed, 120 payments for 10 years. I don't have a single client on the 10-year payment plan, mostly because they're professionals that have their master's degrees and doctorates. If you have over $60,000 and you don't make over $80,000, it is a burden to pay that student loan debt. I have some clients who have student loan debts of $1,200 a month, more than your mortgage. So you guys have some homework. I also write down some homework based on the estimated amount of student loan debt I have. How much will I have to pay off on a monthly basis? I think on the previous chart it said debt payoff of about $500. If you have $80,000, look to about $600 to $1,000 if you plan to stay on the 10-year payment schedule. So I'm kind of like the big bad wolf today, and it's a scary lecture, but I hope this makes this reality. So that is the standard payment plan. If you can, try to get on this, because you don't want student loans hovering over your head well into your 40s, and there's a new epidemic where individuals are retiring, getting out of the workforce, still paying on their student loan debt. Okay? fit your lifestyle, to get this out of your life so you can be who you're meant to be. Next slide. Okay, so this is basic. Sandra took out $24,000. I don't know anybody who has.
She went to school.
Right. She went to Georgia State, but.
Hey, I went to Georgia State. I don't have
Georgia
student loans.
State.
Paid it off.
That's just I went to Georgia State. Or I go there now. She goes to Spelman. I go to Georgia State. She just told me that it's 50,000
Yes.
for Spelman.
Yes.
We pay, I think it was 30,000.
Mhm.
My sister goes to Georgia State too.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference, and it's kind of, I feel bad because I know I have to talk about this subject coming to Spelman, because you guys still have probably a couple more years of accruing this amount of debt, okay? But there are some slight benefits with some caveats later on. So this is simple, $24,000. Nobody has $24,000 student loan debt. That's probably a yearly cost of going to school unless you have a lot of scholarships. That'll be $255 per month, okay? That's something out of your pocket. We're not talking about car payments. We're not talking about credit card debt. This is money going out of your pocket that you have to budget. So if your number is double that, triple that, more than likely 4 times that, your payment option on the 10-year payment is going to be 4 times that amount. Next slide. All right. So this is, of course, $100,000, $1,000, 10 years. These are the real repayment terms. They don't tell you about this. I feel like this type of education needed to be discussed before you guys went on FAFSA, clicked your mouse twice, and got awarded $20,000. There's nothing in life that gives you that much money that instantly, and there is a reason for that. At time, I definitely look into the history of student loans. Next slide. Income-based repayments. I would say probably all my clients are some type of income-based repayment. It's not a bad thing. It is bad if you have over $100,000 of debt, only making $40,000 a year. That means you'll be paying on it, let's say about $300 a month, but the actual balance is going to increase over time, okay? The point of income-based repayment is to match your income based on what you're capable of paying, okay? And they'll do a calculation. I think there's a slide based on the calculation. There you go. And okay, let's back up a second. So there's only a certain amount of loans that are capable for income-based repayment. So some, especially if you go to Spelman or a lot of the other colleges that cost a lot, sometimes you have to get private loans, sometimes you have to get subsidized, unsubsidized loans. And these are the loans that you can actually do income-based repayment. So if you take out a private loan, understand you are going to be on that 10-year fixed payment schedule, and you do not have the flexibility of some of the options that we discuss here. So the ones that are capable are subsidized and unsubsidized, direct graduate, FFEL consolidation, I've never seen that, federal direct consolidation loans. The ones that aren't are the Parent Plus loans. Who in here had parents take out a loan for them? Okay, please own that loan. Okay, like I said, there's a lot of individuals that are retiring with student loan debt. They did that out of the kindness of their heart. Okay, so please take ownership of the loan and don't just ignore it because it's really easy to do. And they're not discharged in bankruptcy, so that'll follow her forever. Question?
Yeah, so with the Parent Plus loan and all of that, like how do we go about that like after college? Well, my dad used to work for like the government, so he has, and now he's a teacher, so he has like, if he works 5 years in like his school, then like they'll pay off my debt. But like, let's say, God forbid, like he doesn't make it to those years, then like how do I work that out? Like,
Yeah, so it's like your parents co-signed on it. So you still owe even if they don't pay. So it's still linked to you. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're still on the hook for that Parent Plus loan. And there's other type of federal loans. For those colleges and institutions that are really, really expensive, there's a lot of creative ways you can get student loan debt. Another thing, I mentioned that student loan debt is not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So your car note, you can get that off if you bankrupt yourself. Credit cards, you can move that off your plate if you bankrupt yourself. This will follow you pretty much for most of your life, okay? If you don't take it, like really focus on it and try to pay it off. Move to the next slide.
Wait, I have a question. So
Yes.
what is bankruptcy?
Yeah, bankruptcy, so that's, you ever heard chapter 7, I think chapter 11 as well? Those are different laws in which you can go to the court and say, I cannot pay my bills. They'll put you on some type of plan, and basically if you successfully complete that plan, they will actually wipe your debts clean. A lot of times those for those who go into business for themselves, they got a whole bunch of debt and can't pay it. It's usually about, it's a little biblical in nature, but they used to forgive yourself for 7 years after you owe a term. So that's what that's rooted in. But it's just a place where you can go, I'm in over my head. The court says, hey, this is what you need to do, and they'll actually wipe your slate completely
Isn't
clean.
there a downside to that though?
It destroys your credit report, which I think we'll talk
Can't buy
about
a
credit
house.
a little bit later. So I think it'll probably take about 4 years to get a mortgage, and it'll take long to get credit cards. And of course, your credit is tied to so many different things, your job, your insurance. So you want to keep as high of the credit standings as possible. Bankruptcy is a leniency that the government has allowed you guys to participate in.
Even though it ruins your credit.
But after 7 years, it could be like it never happened. So it's definitely a
It keeps
plus
you off the
in
street.
society.
Mhm.
Alright. Income contingent, okay, so this is another income base, it's contingent on your income, how much you pay, okay? So it's 20% of your discretionary income. You have to go to the student loan company, explain your living situation, expenses, and they base it off 20% of your income. Now this is the trick. This is the dark part. So it said they will forgive this. If you do income-based repayment plan, this type of contingent income, all the other ones, they will forgive it in 25 years. That's a long time to owe anybody, right? Now, and there's also one who plans on going into the public sector and getting that type of income forgiveness. Well, this is the first year, so that income forgiveness program started in 2007. So this is the first year people have been applying for and asking for the forgiveness for their debt. They have rejected around 70% of those requests for forgiveness, okay? So if you're not making those payments on time, if you defer, forbearance, all those different things, they will hold that against you. So basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is that 25 years, it's a long time, but I don't even trust they'll reimburse you for that, okay? So this is a very scary epidemic, okay? I think we have like $1.5 trillion of student loan debt outstanding. 11% of that is delinquent. So this is the world you guys are living in, and unfortunately, they made rules to go. Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, since like, you're an expert in like, all of this, with the new administration, and not to get political or anything, but I know with the new administration, they've set forth a lot of proposals that go towards student loans. Is there anything that we should be on the lookout for that would affect us, even if we're graduating, like let's say next year?
I don't believe that this administration, no matter what political party, can do anything about it, because basically these loans are on the book of the government. If they forgive that, then that means they have to owe, the taxpayer will have to pay $1.4 trillion. And I don't think any politician wants to foot that bill. So is there something on the horizon? I know Elizabeth Warren has proposed some things. It's a hard problem to solve, right? I don't think we should put students in $100,000 student loan debt because they want to learn, right? I feel like if you want to learn, can produce decent enough grades, we should pay for it. And I think there's a lot of people who believe that. And I also think like the mayor has student loan debt, people in power have student loan debt so they can sympathize. So I hope there is gonna be a solution, but it's gonna be a messy one, and just like that 25-year and 10-year forgiveness thing, it's gonna be a lot of loops that you'll have to jump through to gain that forgiveness. Yeah. Next slide. Pay as you earn and revised pay. I've never seen anybody on this plan. A lot of this stuff you have to actually like go to the loan company, request this, and go through the process. If you can't pay, what a lot of people do is forget that they have student loan debts. That's the 11% delinquency. So somebody who is ambitious enough to go through this, that's a very small percentage of society. Same thing, 20 and 25-year forgiveness plan. The point of all this is, you know what's on your books as far as student loan debt. Try your best, cut your lifestyle to pay it to the 10 years. If you can't, pay as much as possible. Do those budget adjustments so you can put bigger lump sums towards it. Don't be the individual with 25 years of student loan debt payments. And when they forgive it, it's taxable. So if you get forgiven $20,000, the IRS will still come and say, hey, you earn income of $20,000. It's a monster. Next slide, please. All right. This is kind of a standard payoff chart. It kind of shows you different payout metrics and the interest. So interest, of course, less. You're going to pay standard because it's a 10-year loan. All the other ones, you're going to have to pay more. Payment terms, of course, will vary. Income-based, 25 years, 13 years, 15 years. Don't have these loans on your head forever. And I know that's easy for me to say because we went to Georgia State and it doesn't cost as much to pay them off early, but try your best. Next slide.
I have a quick story about that. So I actually had a scholarship. I was on Hope Scholarship. So at the time, that was when Hope was really good. It was like a big deal. And being that sophomore that didn't want to live at home and kind of wanted to do what I wanted to do, I graduated high school with like a 3.8 GPA. Went through my freshman year, it was all good. I became a sophomore and just thought I knew everything there was to know. So I moved out of the house. I was like, I have my car, I'm living my job, I'm living my life. And I didn't go to one of my classes. Like I just didn't go. And I didn't withdraw in time, and I got an F, like a straight F. And my GPA dropped to 2, it was the spring semester of my sophomore year. And my GPA dropped to like 2.94 or something like that. The F was like devastating. So I lost my scholarship and couldn't get it back because you have up until the end of your sophomore year to get it back. So for 2 years I had to pay the full price of college just because I just was making poor decisions. So I recommend just kind of getting advice from people who have been through it before, because we've all been, 19 and 22 and like that time of your life, you are technically an adult, but there's just still so much to learn. And it's better to learn it not through bad experiences if you can avoid it.
Yeah, good point. I mean, after 18, when you click 2 clicks on your fast food, you became an adult, and your schooling is your job. Take it seriously. Not only keep it for your scholarship purposes, but keep it to get your job that you want at the end of the day. You are taking out these loans to earn income in the future. So take that as serious as possible. This is not a game when we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's basically the line here. Okay. Loan payment. So this basically gives you a strategy on student loan repayments based off the amount that you've taken out. $10,000, $50,000. I don't know who only has that nowadays, especially if you want to get your master's or doctorate. But they say try to pay that off in 3 to 5 years. That means take a little bit extra out your pocket to pay that. What that really means is cut your lifestyle to afford to pay extra on that. Okay, next slide. Over $50,000. This is 10 years or less. Very strict requirements. This is showing that as the amount goes up, the options you have are I guess, a little bit limited, and you have to default being reactive instead of proactive into these government program payment options, okay? I think the next slide we have here, they're gonna take us to 100,000. I guess it is most of geared towards small monthly payment income. Okay, so this kind of tells you the strategy. 20 years payment, remember you have to sign up for these facilities. Okay, all this says is if you're having trouble paying for your student loan debt, you have to sign up. Budgeted income goals.
You could go ahead, but it was a lower point to talk about consolidation.
Yeah, so debt consolidation, what that means is, and I think it was a little more advantageous for when I graduated than what you guys are going through now. So when I graduated, the interest rate on student loans is fixed to the interest rates in the market. So the market is what you get in the savings account, all those things. Recently, when I graduated, they were really high. They've been low recently. But they were so high that I had people who had 9, 12% interest rates on their student loan debts. That's credit card interest rates, right? So what somebody can do now that we're in a low interest rate environment is go to a financial institution, but unfortunately you have to be able or willing to do the 10-year plan to consolidate. So you'll go into a company called like SoFi and say, hey, I want to reduce the interest rates instead of having these multiple payments, because if you have multiple loans, because every year you actually apply for a different loan, which has its own number, all the other stuff. I want just one solid loan, okay? So the goal to refinance and consolidate is to reduce your interest rate and also simplify your financial situation by having one payment instead of paying multiple individuals. Now, what is the downside to that? You leave or take away those government programs, pay as you go, to be able to call them up and say, hey, I want to defer my loan because I've had a life event. Those things go away. That new consolidated loan now kind of takes the place of a car note, so you're obligated to pay it, and you have to take those seriously. Okay? It's a good situation if you can go to the 10-year plan. I've seen some that have 15, 20 years, but then you're kind of, 15, 20 years, you can't predict that, right? You might have another job change. You want to shift in your life. Really take the benefits of the government programs.
Before we talk about budgeting